This is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're going to be responding to one of our subscribers. I did say that I would be typing a celebrity from the comments from the last celebrity typing. So we got BASO1. Interesting one. Can you add Warren Buffett to your list? He's an interesting one too. So I'm going to do Warren Buffett today. And before we get into that, I'm going to say we are still doing free typing sessions by us. All you have to do is message our moderator, Cody. Just join our Facebook group, message Cody, and send him your availability, and we'll try to get you typed. Generally speaking, it's going to usually be a Thursday, a Friday, a Saturday, because those are the days that I'm off from the hospital. But yeah, we'll get you guys typed. We want to create the most accurate and best MBTI group. So that eventually people can ask for things that people see in relationships, things like companions, friends, work relationships or whatnot, and they can figure out a way to come up with a strategy to make their lives better. That's our overall goal with that. But let's get into this. And I want to say 50% of our viewers are not subscribed, so all you have to do is subscribe, man. And please join our group. And we have a Discord group. Our moderator Sarah, she runs that group. She's done a wonderful job. I'm about to message her to get the information from it. I don't really understand Discord that much. I'm just gonna be honest with you. But I will get the information from her. She does a wonderful job. She's the entp. She's doing great things. The future is bright for her. So we're gonna get that in the comments below, and let's get into this. So, personality database, our sworn enemy has Warren Buffett as an ISTJ. Okay, they have 380 votes. You guys know we use Linda Barrens material with temperament interaction styles, and we combine that with cognitive functions to be able to triangulate and find people's personality type. Okay. And on another note, I highly recommend you guys pick up Dario Nardi's work. He's the student of Linda Barrens. We had him on as an interview. This guy is phenomenal, a genius INTJ. He dropped this book in, I think this is 2011. He dropped The Magic Diamond like a year ago, and he's dropping a new book recently. The Magic Diamond is $1 million book. Highly recommend you pick it up. But let's get into this. So ISTJ, you guys know the function. You see the 4 there, and the fifth function of the post personality would be SE. In the critic would be TI. In the trickster would be FE. In the A spot, the demonic or angelic, you get NI. Okay, so let's get into this. And before we get into that, we want to talk about the chart. They have them as ISTJ. ISTJs are direct, they're responding, they're affiliative, they're systematic, they're chart to course, and their progression, and the functions are listed above. Okay, so let's get into this.
At that time, and I felt you came back from New York in the 56.
50% of our viewers are not subscribed, so if you guys could please subscribe, that helps us grow as a channel, that helps us grow as a Facebook group, that helps us grow as a Discord. And like I said, our overall goal is to become the most accurate MBTI group. It's a self-development group as well. We talk about finances, we talk about health. Like I said, if you want to message me personally about things, I've been lifting in the gym for 14 years. I'm 5'11", 250 pounds. I bench over 405 pounds. When it comes to finances, I have been investing in the stock market since 2016. I'm very versed in the knowledge of that. And like I said earlier, if you're trying to get into stock investing, highly recommend you pick up Benjamin Graham's book, The Intelligent Investor. And if you want to take your knowledge to the next level, you can get into the Security Exchange by him. He is the teacher of Warren Buffett.
6, I think it was. Having studied and worked with Ben Graham.
See, I just talked about Benjamin Graham. I just talked about him.
What was the dream? What was the ambition? Well, it was kind of disgustingly low. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what I was going to do. It's amazing that they have the text up here. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had about 150,000. He's going I crazy, so that's going to be first person perspective. That's going to be from an SI perspective. $150,000 at that time, and I felt, if I earned 10% on that'd be $15,000.
See, I
a year, and and I could live big on that at the time.
So he's coming from an SI perspective.
I was interested in reading and taking courses at the university. I took my father-in-law's course in psychology, and I thought I might go to law school. I knew there were a whole bunch.
Okay, so he's saying I. Okay, and he's going through progression. He doesn't have a desired outcome. He's just saying he's just doing things. So that's progression focus. He's not buying an end product. Like an end product would be something like when we interviewed the entj earlier today. The last video we posted, he was talking about, well, I want to lose weight, I want to get ripped, I want to become a dermatologist. He's not talking about how to get there or how he even get there, how he got there. He's just looking at the end product. He's almost romanticizing it.
Subjects I wanted to read about, and then I sort of stumbled into this partnership.
I stumbled into this partnership. That's progression as well. Like, he's not looking for an outcome. He's just moving and things are happening. He's on his journey.
A few months later, because 7 members of the family said, we want you to handle our investments, and I did.
We want you to handle our investments. That's SINE, talking about what other people want.
Didn't want to do it one at a time or tell them what I was doing. So I put the 7 together in a partnership that had $105,100 in it. You can guess who the $100 was.
Yes, I know.
and I thought that was it. And a few months later, a fellow named Homer Dodge, who had been a stockholder.
He's talking about Homer Dodge, who's also a stockholder at Graham Newman. So he's name dropping here, and he's talking about the expertise of that person. So it's going to be in the realm of TEFI, okay?
Graham Newman came out, saw me in Omaha, and he said Graham Newman was liquidating, and he said he'd asked Ben where to put his money, and Ben said maybe Warren would be a good choice. So he joined me for, I think, about $100,000 at the time. And then 4 months later, some fellow in Omaha that read the legal notice, actually, a friend of mine called me up and said, what are you doing? And I told him, and he did it. So yeah, I just kind of stumbled along.
I just stumbled along, progression. No desired outcome. He's not talking about an outcome. He's not saying, well, I wanted to build a potential, he's not talking about I want to be millionaire, billionaire. He's not talking about I wanted to build a business. He's not saying any of that. He's just basically saying I stumbled along. I'm on a journey, baby.
Sudden you have a partnership,
right,
and you're making money.
And I couldn't sell Keo now. But the partnership did well, and part of the partnership was buying what looked like cheap stocks. Berkshire Hathaway looked like a cheap stock. It was a terrible business.
What was your ambition then? Now you have a vehicle.
Yeah. Well, I started out by thinking I was a textile expert. But
I started out thinking I was a textile expert, so he's TEFI. He's giving himself a title, textile expert. Okay, let's keep going.
But I was disabused of that notion fairly fast. I really did. I thought,
he can't stop saying that. I. It's like I said, man. These SINE users talk from a first person perspective. I know we got a whole bunch of like haters that say, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to type, whatever. But man, we stay consistent here. Okay, you say a lot of things, but one thing we don't do is do things wrong.
What do these guys know about making textiles? They've only been doing it a few hundred years. I mean, the Egyptians.
What do these guys know about textiles? So that's a TE's perspective. Talking about what other people know. Talking about like what you know. Okay, would be TI. I know this.
I think figured out how to weave.
But I've been in Omaha for a while.
That's right.
I know a lot about textiles.
Just turn me loose at the plant and see what happens. So anyway. What happened was right at that period, the textile business was good for a very short period of time. And so I was like a duck floating on a pond when it was raining. I was going up in the world.
I was doing this, I was doing that, I was doing this, I was doing that. That's SI perspective, baby.
But I thought it was because I was flapping my wings, but it was that damn rain that was coming down. And then when it quit raining, I found out, what do I know? Right. Yeah. And then we went into other businesses.
Yeah.
See, this is all
so
progression.
all of a sudden, you went into other businesses, meaning you had some cash flow.
This is all progression. This is like, this guy's progression heavy, and he's SINE heavy. We got 4 points for both of them already. We're gonna be closing those out very soon. So.
Coming in.
We had some cash, not very much,
yeah.
But we had some cash around. And when Jack Ringwald decided to sell his insurance,
Jack Ringwald, he's name dropping again, TEFI companies
in early '67, we paid 8.6 million, I think, 8.4 million, I guess it was, 8.4 million. And we had, in Berkshire, we had, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 million around. Maybe we borrowed a few million. But
so that was your first entry into the insurance business. Why was the insurance business attractive?
Well, it does control money. And if you've got somebody that's doing a decent job on the insurance end in underwriting, it gives you money to invest on my end.
How much of your revenue comes from the insurance business?
Well, a lot comes from insurance, and then we have a lot of money that's generated by insurance. So insurance has propelled our growth. There's no question about that.
Because it gave you money to
It gave us the money to both invest in marketable securities and also money to buy businesses outright.
And then in 1965, you have a chance to take over.
Right.
Berkshire. What happened?
After a while, I realized what a lousy business I was in. And we didn't get out of the textile business, but I decided that to the extent we could, we'd try to add on other things. Interestingly enough, Charlie, I'd have been better off if I'd done all the subsequent things without putting them in Berkshire originally. If you just talk financially, Berkshire, the textile business was a drag for 20 years. So if instead of buying these things for Berkshire, we just bought them in a separate entity, the X.
Then why didn't you do that?
I don't know. But it worked out fine. But I don't know.
But everything worked out. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back.
Looking back, it was a big, fundamental, wrong decision from a financial standpoint.
To get involved in the textile business at all.
Yeah. I should have just gotten out of that and gone on and done these other things.
But tell me why you didn't?
I kind of stick with things.
Kind of stick with things.
Yeah.
Okay. So I kind of stick with things. He's so he's SINE. He doesn't have a desired outcome, so it's progression. We're done here with those. So based off that being SINE and progression, we're gonna start with progression. Okay, if he's progression, he has to be ESFJ, ESFP, ENTP, ENFP. Okay, those are the progression types. And the direct progression type, those are the informative progression types. The direct progression types are ISTJ, ISTP, INTJ, and INFJ. Okay, so we know that. Okay, he's progression. Okay, so he's one of them. Okay, he's SINE. So what SINE does is it eliminates ESFP, it eliminates ISTP, it eliminates INTJ, and eliminates INFJ. Okay, so let's look at the chart here, and that will show you that. Wonderful chart by Melissa. Okay, that shows you that. Okay, so we're down to ESFJ, ISTJ, ENTP, ENFP. Okay, well, let's continue.
I really do. I mean, it's just my personality, you know. I mean, I'm driving a car after 8 years. I'm living in the same house after 47 years.
Your net worth.
I live in the same house after 47 years. That's SI. That's systematic as well. I mean, he doesn't like change. He likes what he can control.
$6 or $7 million.
That probably is about right. Yeah, that's probably about right. Because in 1962, when I put all the partnerships together, it was about $1 million, and when I wound up, it was about 25. Right? So it probably was.
So you're talking about a guy who's this old, who can talk about the past verbatim. That should tell you this guy's a high SI user. Okay, if this guy was an SE user, he would not be matter of fact with the dates.
What are you thinking? I mean, I'm just going to continue finding investments that I can make, and
well,
everything will turn out all right.
In the mid-'60s, I was running this partnership, so I thought I was going to keep running the partnership. And then I got to where I didn't think I could do that well. And
why did you think that?
See, he's talking about the progression again. He's not talking about the desired outcome. Where's the outcome? Where is the outcome?
In 69,
the stock market.
The stock market just went crazy, and it was a little like, you know, in 1999 and 2000. I mean, I was left behind. And I didn't want to do things I didn't understand and that didn't make sense to me. I didn't want to do things
I didn't want to understand and didn't make sense to me. That's the TI perspective. Okay.
But I also didn't like sitting there while everybody else was, you know, running rings around me, and my partners were probably not saying it, but they might think, you know, has this guy lost it?
Talking about what other people think. That's TFI. Okay, so he's a TE user. Okay. Okay, we got enough information to say that he's a TE user with him talking about things from the FI perspective or TE perspective with the name dropping and that whatnot. So we know he's a TE perspective. So that would eliminate ENTP and ESFJ. So automatically we're down to two types right here. ladies and gentlemen, ISTJ, ENFP. Is personality database correct today? We will find out. Okay. Is he an ISTJ or ENFP? Okay, the differences between the ISTJ and ENFPs. ISTJs are direct. Okay, they're concrete. Direct, concrete versus abstract and informative. Okay, that's mainly what we're gonna be looking at here. Okay, is he saying abstract things? Is he initiating? Is he or is he responding? Okay. When we find those out, we'll be able to pinpoint them down. Personality database might be actually correct on Warren Buffett, which is quite amazing.
So I gave him all the money back, and I gave him the shares of Berkshire, and got a lot of them myself as part of that. And then I just kind of got more involved in Berkshire. It became my painting. I was only painting an hour or two a day at the start, and then I started painting like crazy.
So you had a stake in Berkshire.
Right, and I actually bought more, but I just decided I'd put all my money in Berkshire and ride with it.
And ride with Berkshire as a vehicle, as
a kind of an extension, a corporate extension of me.
Yeah. And are you out of the textile business by then?
We got out of it. No, we did not get out of the textile business for 20 years. I even bought another textile company. I mean, this is, I'm going to confess. This is like a revival meeting now. I'm going to just go up to you and
we need that.
Forgive me, will you? Because I bought another textile company. I bought something called Wambeck Mills in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Why did you do that?
Only my psychiatrist knows.
So you drop in like a psychiatrist and whatnot. That's TFI. He's appealing to experts.
I thought I was going to solve something by doing it. I mean, I
solve something?
Well, I mean, I thought that these two put together would do better. Some crazy thing. I mean, I did it myself too. No management consultant told me to do it. So it was about 85. I mean, 20 years later, but. Before we got out of
the textile business.
They got out of the textile business. So I said it's a little bit like watching a parade with all these other textile companies, and you stand up on your tiptoes, and then everybody else stands up on their tiptoes to it, and all that you don't see any better, and your legs hurt. And that's what happened with textile.
Okay, so he made a T comparison there.
In 1973, which may be your first run at the Washington Post, you began to buy shares.
Yeah.
How did you come to the conclusion?
I'd looked at the prospectus in 1971 when Charlie and I first met Kay Graham one time, and they were going public right at the time of the Pentagon Papers. And then in 1973, the stock got very cheap because their television licenses were under challenge by Beebe Rebozo, Nixon's friend, and the stock went from, I think, like 38 to 16 or so in a very short period of time.
You see how this guy's freaking remembering like these numbers to the degree that he's doing from 1960. Warren Buffett is not a young person, okay? He's not a young person. So, I mean, my God. The thing about ENFPs versus ISTJs, ENFPs have TI tricksters. They have no internal logic. Warren Buffett seems to be having his own internal logic as well, coming up from that critic spot. So it's looking like most likely this guy's ISTJ.
When it got down to around 20, just in a few blocks, we bought almost 10% of the company, and that now is about 18% because they've repurchased shares. When it got to about 20,
talking about the repurchasing shares, that's systematic. Okay, that's that dividend. You want to get into dividend investing, it's a wonderful thing. Continue to buy shares. That's the system behind it.
That meant the whole Washington Post company, it had 4,800,000 shares. The whole Washington Post company was selling for $100 million. Now, they own the Washington Post, they own Newsweek, they own 4 big network television stations, including CBS in Washington, D.C., and all of that.
Jacksonville, Florida.
I mean, everything, and they didn't owe any money. And if you had taken those separate parts, you literally could have been out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, at midnight in a rowboat, and you could have sold them for $500 million. People have been swimming out in shark-infested waters if necessary.
And you could have had all of it for $100 million.
For $100 million. I mean, you weren't going to get all of it. Because,
Here's what I don't understand. How come 95 people didn't see that?
It was amazing. We were buying it from big institutional investors, and they were bailing out of it. And if you'd asked any one of them what the pieces were worth, they would have said something close to what I would say, but they thought the stock was going to go down. So what, And the stock did go down. In fact, after we bought it, it went down a little more.
So what? Warren Buffett believes that I'm not looking at the price of the stock. I'm looking at the value of the business.
I'm looking at the properties, and I'm looking at the Graham family. I mean, that stock we paid about $10 million for.
I'm looking at the Graham family.
Probably worth $1.5 billion or more today. And they haven't.
$10 million and it's worth $1.5 billion.
And they have not struck oil. They have not invented a cure for cancer. They've just taken those properties and kept doing reasonably intelligent things, and sometimes very intelligent things, with the money generated by it, and they've developed the properties they've had.
Progression, and systematic.
And they've been terrific stewards of the money, but there's no miracles involved.
Warren bought into the company without my knowing him. That's why I say luck really plays a role in people's lives. It just does. A lot of people said stiff arm him, he's buying too much stock. He means you no good. And my native instinct was, let's take a look. Let's see what he's like. And everything I learned about him was very good. So I asked him to come and take a look at the company in which she'd just bought these shares. He had to write me a letter when he owned 5% of the company saying, "Dear Mrs. Graham, I've just bought 5% of your company, and I mean you no harm. And I think it's a great company, and I know it's Graham owned and Graham run, and that's fine with me." And so I got to know him, and I thought, whoa, this guy's really terrific. So after he joined our board, he used to come to board meetings with about 20 annual reports. And he would take me through these annual reports. I mean, it was like going to business school with Warren Buffett.
Couldn't have a better teacher.
No, it was wonderful.
Kay Graham told me that when she met you, she'd never even understood how to read an annual report. Mm-hmm. That's what you brought to her, some sense of helping her come to grips with the idea of making business decisions.
Kay was very, very smart, but she thought, because this had been pushed into her.
Talking about what other people think or thought, that's TE.
By her mother and her husband to some extent in the past. She thought only males who had been to business school could run businesses. I mean, she had the intellect, but she didn't have the confidence. And I told her my job was to get her away from looking into that funhouse mirror that she was looking into about herself and distorting it, and looking into a real mirror. And when she looked in a real mirror, she'd see a person that was perfectly capable of running the Washington Post or any other company.
How long did it take her to learn that?
Well, it was, fits and starts over time. But I had the right raw material. I mean, she was good. She was good. And she'd had beaten in.
So he's talking about doing the right thing there. That's affiliative. He's talking about doing the right thing, okay? All that, it's all about doing the right thing. So, well, ICJs and ENFPs are both affiliative, and we know that.
Who were over such a long period of time, that wasn't what she could do in life, that it took some convincing, and she had to see evidence of success and all that sort of thing. I said, Mrs. Graham, I said, you control this company lock, stock, and barrel, but you're still worried about me. So I said, what you're doing is you're looking at me and you're seeing fangs, and I'm telling you these are baby teeth. And I said, they really are baby teeth, but they always look like fangs to you, and there's nothing I can do except take them out. I said, even though they're baby teeth, I'm going to just take them all out. So I'm perfectly willing. You call George Gillespie up here, your lawyer, and I said, I'll sign an agreement that I'll never buy another share of stock of Washington Post unless you give me the okay.
That's affiliative. I'm fine. That's affiliative. He's talking about doing the right thing, okay?
I want you happy with me. I want you nervous about me.
I want you happy with me, affiliative.
George came up and I took out the baby teeth, and she saw fangs falling to the floor, and we got along great ever.
Okay, but you already had.
We had
$10 million invested or not?
Yeah, we had $10 million invested. We had 9%, 9 and a fraction percent of the stock. I told her the smart thing is to repurchase your shares. I mean, and the shares I would otherwise buy, you should buy for the company, and we'll all get richer if you do that.
Talking about doing something that benefits everybody, that's affiliative.
And she had a lot of other people advising her otherwise, but she decided to do it. And that's the reason we now own almost 18%, I believe, of the company instead of 9 and a fraction percent. The Buffalo Evening News was bought in 1977. Right. And I gave Kay first shot at that.
You did what?
I gave Kay first shot at that.
You said, if you don't want to buy.
Doing the right thing, he's affiliative.
I'm going to
We already know that.
Why would you do that?
I just felt that, she'd been good to me, and
The right thing to do. She's been good to me.
we were a big holder, and they were in the newspaper business, and she wanted to buy things.
He's not talking
So
about the
I
outcome here. He's not talking about the outcome here. Okay, he's just progression.
Just said, I'm not gonna
And
find that I went up to see Vince Mano on a Sunday and bought this thing away from you, so that you otherwise would have bought. So
what I'm noticing is that he's direct as well. He's not informative. He's not giving extra information. He's specific, concise, and to the point. We were down to isfj and enfp. So that would make personality database actually correct. Warren Buffett is an ISTJ. Okay. And what we noticed very early on in this interview was that he's a SINE user, a very good SI user. He can recall the past that you've never seen. I think this guy's maybe 80, 90 in this interview, and he's recalling things 40, 50 years ago better than the interviewer. So that just shows you how SI users really are. There's people who disagree and say SI users don't remember things. They're a fool, okay? They're a fool. I don't even want to talk to those guys. So he's an SINE user, okay? And he's progression. He's not talking about desired outcomes. He's not talking about the end product. He's not saying I did this to get this. He's not saying I looked at this for this. All right, he's looking for the progression. He's on a journey, okay? He is literally on a journey, and he's just getting things done, okay? So he's progression. We noticed that very early. And then we noticed that he was a TFI user. Very, very easy to see, okay? He's affiliative. He talks about doing the right thing. He probably could have screwed Benjamin Graham's wife over with that business, but he decided to do the right thing. He talks about doing the right thing all the time. So he's affiliative, okay? And he's direct, okay? He's direct, which means he's specific, concise, and to the point. He's not giving a lot of extra information. With that being said, that makes him an ISTJ, but ISTJs are also systematic, okay? They have systems. They like to use systems. They talk about systems, that type of thing, and they're concrete. Okay, so that's Warren Buffett for you. We got him as an ISTJ. It's been wonderful. Personality database, you got this one correct. And for the chart here, you can check it out right there. He's an ISTJ, so like we said, it's right there. This is Mongolian Mindset, and you know how we do this. We're out.